Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
Nerve-wracking time, and about whether you're in or not, or whether you're going someplace to really at it, or whether you're hosting, whatever it might be, is always some anticipation, and it's an exciting time for our team to be able to see it in the McFadden building there. You could tell that they were excited about getting a chance, another opportunity to get in and play.
Well, it doesn't matter if you're the last one invited to the party. Thank you very much for the invitation. That's how Jack Leggett and the Tigers feel this evening as they are headed for the 7th consecutive year to the NCAA baseball tournament. They had to wait to the last screen, maybe next to last screen, popped up on the ESPNU broadcast because they were the next to last bracket, to find out they're going to Fullerton, California, to play Arizona State on Friday at 6 o'clock Eastern time in the Fullerton Regional. And Clemson is going as the number 3 seed. That's not all. We, of course, have 2 other teams from the state headed into the tournament, but they will hit the road as well. Coastal Carolina, a number 2 seed, going to Texas A&M, and the College of Charleston, a number 2 seed, going to Florida State's Regional. We'll fill you in on all that, and we are scheduled to hear from the head coaches of all 3 schools with us tonight here on Sports Talk, beginning with Jack Leggett at the bottom of the hour. So there were some anxious moments. Coastal and Charleston knew they were in. Their anxious moments came last night when the regional hosts sites were announced, and one or both thought they were going to get a regional host. Neither did. From talking with someone at Coastal today, if Coastal had held on to beat Wilmington in their championship game, they would have had a host's role. But they didn't hang on. They blew a 4-1 lead, and off they go. In Clemson's case, Pro, it was just a matter of crossing their fingers and hoping that they had done enough. And the committee obviously did not go strictly by RPI when they were making their final decisions.
Well, tell me that. Well, you meant Radford, right? Didn't Radford beat Coastal? You said.
I'm sorry, Radford. Yes.
And UNC Wilmington knocked off Charleston.
Correct.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I thought maybe Charleston would have gotten it, but I saw them. The loss to UNC Wilmington, thought maybe that's what left them out. But I tell you what, if I'm Jack Leggett, I'm probably rolling out recent history. I think going about 7 years ago, one of the last teams to get in was Fresno State. And they went on and won the College World Series that year. So, it's been done before. And they really are playing hot. They just ran into a couple of tough teams. One they swept earlier, and you thought you weren't going to beat Florida State 4 times in a row, and they didn't.
Well, in simplest terms, you can get to Omaha with 5 wins over the next 2 weeks. It's all have 2 arms going for you, like Crownover and Irwin, the way Clemson has right now. You gotta kind of like their chances, but the Tigers have had trouble defensively throughout the season. They're going to have to play solid defense. They're going to hit probably, and they're going to pitch at least in those first 2 games. But will the defense be sound behind them? That has been a problem all year. Run down the field for you in just a moment. right, so what do you think, Tiger fans? Your team is headed to the NCAA baseball tournament. Jack Leggett gets it done again, despite the pressure, no doubt, building in terms of his future at Clemson, as we've documented here and has been documented elsewhere. 1 year left on his contract. He gets the Tigers back to the NCAA tournament for a 7th time. You know, part of the problem, though, Pro, is when you get to that tournament year after year after year, that's all well and good, but the expectation is to go more than just to the NCAA tournament. It is to win a regional, and then it's to get to a super regional and win a super regional, and then get to Omaha. Now, the Tigers haven't been to Omaha since, 2010, I think was their last visit out there. So how this will be perceived by Dan Radakovich, the athletic director at Clemson, remains to be seen. He's got to do something with Coach Leggett. He just can't let him coach on a 1-year contract.
That's correct.
Going into next year. So there will have to be some movement. And I would think that he should give Coach Leggett at least a 2-year extension on his contract. Give him 3 more years beginning in 2016. I think he deserves it. He held this team together, had some nice wins, got them hot at the right time, and did enough to get him into the NCAA tournament. And then we'll see where they go from here. You roll the dice with your pitching, and with Crownover going and then Irwin going the way they have pitched, you got to like their chances. And also, I think that both of those two will pitch. They may not say it publicly, but I think in their minds, they remember what happened to them last year when they faced Oregon in Nashville. The two of them got creamed by the Ducks, especially Crownover, who started that first game in the regional last year, and Clemson got embarrassed by Oregon for whatever reason. They held Daniel Gossett for the second game, probably thinking they were going to see Vanderbilt. I don't know if it was a matchup thing or not, but they held Daniel Gossett and ended up getting Xavier and getting beat by Xavier. So the Tigers have lost 3 straight NCAA tournament games. You know they're going to be anxious to get out there and end that streak, and we'll talk with Jack about it here coming up at the bottom of the hour.
Well, I will say this. If I'm Jack Leggett, I'm going to tell my team, look, I want you to stay intense, but when we hit the field, I want you to exhale, blow the entire regular season out. This is a new season. And Corn, because of the pressures on this season for Jack, and you know his team felt it, I think probably the best thing for them is going out west.
Sure.
Away from this area altogether.
Personally, I hate it because obviously we're not going to California to cover them there. If they win their regional and Louisville wins its regional, the Tigers will play at Louisville in the Super Regional. We'll pick them up there, but they got to get through this regional first. It's a long way to Fullerton, California. Here is what the NCAA Division I baseball tournament field looks like. UCLA is the #1 overall seed and will play Bakersfield, California Bakersfield in the first round. Maryland is going out to UCLA as a #3 seed to face #2 seed Ole Miss. The winner of that regional will face the regional from UC Santa Barbara. Now, actually, that regional is going to be played about 3 hours up the road in a minor league ballpark. And why is that? Because UC Santa Barbara doesn't have lights at its baseball field.
I believe.
But they did win 40 games. They're a very good team. They have an excellent coach who is being talked about heavily to be the new coach at Arizona. They'll face San Diego State. Virginia is the 3 seed in that regional and will face the #2 seed Southern Cal. To the next pairings in terms of leading to the Super Regional, Oklahoma State, a #1 seed, hosting at Stillwater against St. John's. The 2 seed there is Arkansas playing Oral Roberts. The winner there gets the winner from the Missouri State Regional. First time a Missouri Valley team has hosted a regional. Missouri State 45-11, the #1 seed to face Canisius. Iowa is the #2 seed and will get Oregon. Miami of Florida, the #1 seed in its regional and will host. And Miami will play Florida International, the 4 seed. East Carolina is the 2 seed at Coral Gables and will face Columbia. The winner there gets the winner from the Dallas Baptist Regional. And Dallas Baptist, your #1 seed there, they will play VCU. Oregon State's the #2 seed, and Texas gets in as a 3 seed. they get in by virtue of winning their tournament. They're 30-25. They would not have made the tournament had they not won their conference tournament. Florida State, number 1 seed in its regional, to play Mercer. And the number 2 seed there, the College of Charleston. The College of Charleston will face Auburn, the number 3 seed. And this should be a terrific matchup. I'm sure Taylor Clark will be the starting pitcher for the College of Charleston, and that will give the Cougars an excellent chance to get a win in that opening round. The Florida Gators are number 1 seed in their regional, and they will play Florida A&M. Florida Atlantic, the number 2 seed there, and they will play South Florida. So the committee is pairing Florida State and Florida. If you go by the seeds, they're pairing Florida State and Florida in a super regional, and then it was Miami and Dallas Baptist in the super regional above that. So that is the way it looks on that side of the bracket. We go to the other side of the bracket, where you have LSU, the number 1 seed for their regional, to face Lehigh, UNCW, the number 2 seed, to face Tulane. Of course, they're kind of looking at a Tulane LSU thing there if they can win. The winner of that regional gets the winner from the Houston regional. Houston at 42-18 will face Houston Baptist, the number 4 seed. Rice is the number 2 seed, and Louisiana Lafayette, the number 3 seed. Rivalry there with Houston and Rice. Don't know so much about Houston Baptist, but you get Houston and Rice together.
So we got Houston rivalry. Baptist and Dallas Baptist.
Correct.
Okay,
a lot of Baptists out there playing pretty good baseball. Didn't realize the Baptists were that good in baseball. They're good in a lot of things, but really good in baseball, especially in Texas. Texas A&M, the number 1 seed for their regional. They'll play Texas Southern. And Coastal Carolina heading out to College Station, Texas as the number 2 seed at 38-19. So close to hosting their own regional this weekend at the beach. How nice would that have been for a variety of reasons? They will play California in their opening game. So the winner of the Texas A&M regional gets the winner from the TCU regional. TCU, the number 1 seed. Sacred Heart, the number 4 seed. NC State going out there as the number 2 seed, with Stony Brook as the number 3 seed. Now, you could see if NC State's played very well down the stretch. If NC State were to win that regional and somehow Coastal Carolina was to win its regional, you would probably see a super regional in Conway. That would be my guess. Now to the Illinois regional. Illinois, the hottest team in the country. I think they've won, 27 in a row. They're 47-8-1. Number 1 seed in their regional. They draw Ohio. Notre Dame, the number 2 seed, and will play Wright State. In Nashville, Vanderbilt's the number 1 seed, of course, and they will get Lipscomb. The number 2 seed is Radford, with Indiana, the number 3. And the Vanderbilt region winner will face the Illinois region winner.
Boy, you throw in Maryland and you throw in Iowa, you previously said. Where's the Big Ten getting these baseball teams all of a sudden?
I know. And then finally, last 2 brackets, the one Clemson is in, Cal State Fullerton, the number 1 seed. Pepperdine will be their opponent. Arizona State, the number 2 seed, and Clemson, the number 3 seed. Tigers and Arizona State meeting at 6 o'clock on Friday. Winner of that regional gets the winner from the Louisville regional. Number 1 seed Louisville to play Morehead State. Number 2 Bradley to play there Louisville. So there you go. Your top 8 national seeds in order: UCLA, LSU, Louisville, Florida, Miami, Illinois, TCU, and Missouri State. Now, you read about the aftermath of the selections, and one name that comes up as not being picked and Clemson getting it ahead of them was North Carolina. North Carolina about, 30 spots ahead of Clemson in the RPI. Teams went 2-2 against one another this season, but the Tigers had the better finish. Tar Heels did struggle down the stretch. Clemson's strong finish is what got them in. So the overhanging question, I'm not going to say overriding question, because the big question is how far will Clemson go in the NCAA tournament, but the question hanging over the Clemson baseball program, despite the giddiness and the happiness of making the NCAA tournament, is will Dan Radakovich retain Jack Leggett as Clemson's baseball coach? That's our poll question on our website, sportstalksc.com. Thus far, 57% of the respondents say yes, he will retain Jack Leggett as Clemson's baseball coach. I think he should. What do you say?
I say the same thing. One lesson that I know they probably had over the years a little bit more consistency, but I think Dad has to take a lesson from a guy who's still searching for his first College World Series championship, and that's Mike Martin, who's been at Florida State 30-something years. 38 years.
Mm-hmm.
I was giving him 36. I was trying to make him younger.
I think it's 38. I thought I read that.
But anyway, it's a case where if you got consistent success, that holy grail is very difficult to grab. And please do not hold against Jack Leggett, even though I know fans in every region will do this. Has our rival run one? Well, that means we got to win. Well, sometimes yes, sometimes no. I mean, Miami has won titles, but Florida and Florida State still trying to scrap to find one. But they're retaining their coaches, and they retain consistency. And I think Jack Leggett, with this team, the way they turned it around late, and the fact that you give him, as you say, maybe a 2-3 year extension, and then he can go out and recruit, because you've kind of hampered his recruiting by having this cloud hangover for more than a year or almost a year. So I think that bodes well for Clemson if you give him some space to recruit now.
Yeah, and their recruiting has been pretty good here the last couple of years. They have landed some pretty highly regarded players. They've had some issues with the baseball draft taking some of these guys, but they've gotten some good players in who were highly regarded coming out of their high school seasons, like Weston Wilson and Eli White, very highly regarded players. They've got a good class coming in. So I would think that you don't want to disrupt what you have going on. And, I mean, the only reason to even consider something like that is if you think you've got somebody waiting in the wings clearly better. I mean, it would be ridiculous to do something like that, to let him go, and then start some kind of a national search scratch and start your program all over. I mean, Jack's got a lot of good years left in him. And I think that, this year they beat South Carolina, so they turned that series in that direction. They went down and swept Florida State. They had some very high moments. I know they had some low moments as well, but the entire landscape of college baseball has just changed from 15, 20 years ago, where you could count on some automatic wins during the middle of the week against some teams. You can't do that now. The parity in college baseball is just tremendous. And look at some of the places and some of the teams that are getting into the NCAA tournament now. Teams that you would never think about hosting or even getting into the tournament are getting in. So it's a heck of a lot tougher than it was 10, 15 years ago. Back in a moment. It is baseball mayhem here on Sports Talk. That's right. That's the word that I have coined to describe the baseball tournament. You know, college basketball has March Madness. Baseball needs something, and we call it mayhem here on Sports Talk because to us, no, just mayhem.
Okay.
We don't have to say mayhem. That's redundant. We go with just the flat mayhem here on Sports. Quit interrupting my creation of a slogan. Mayhem or a trademark or whatever you want to call it. We welcome in first up here on College Baseball Mayhem on Sports Talk, Clemson coach Jack Leggett. Tigers are headed to the West Coast to Cal State Fullerton for their regional action against Arizona State. First of all, congratulations. Did you have any idea prior to Clemson popping up on the screen that you were going to make it? Did you have any inside knowledge, or was it just when it showed up on television?
I had a little indication ahead of time, but basically it was last minute, and we just, kind of wore the whole thing for the last 48 hours, and I had a feeling that we had a good chance, because the way we had played down the stretch, Phil, and the way we had played against Florida State and Louisville, and the top 10 teams late, and so I felt pretty good about it. But you just never know when you get in that room. There's a lot of people fighting for a lot of spots, very few spots, and I feel excited for our players, and I'm excited for our program, I'm excited for our players and coaches that have worked so hard to get ourselves here and playing a tough conference. And it was a battle. Every game was a battle this year.
No doubt about it. And pretty obvious, the committee did not go strictly by RPI. I know that's a part of what they looked at, but what else do you think they considered in your case? Because had it just strictly been RPI, you probably would have been left out.
Well, thank goodness there's only one part of the equation. But the last 11 games, we were 8-3. In the last 11 games, we had won some big games. We were 7-4 against top 10 teams in the country, and 4 of those have been on the road. And we just played really well. The last 2 months, we finished 5th, one half game out of 3rd place in the ACC in a 14-team league that, in the last couple of years has added Louisville and Notre Dame, so it's made it even tougher, stronger for for a greater amount of teams. And it was the number 2 RPI rated conference in the country. And so we got 7 teams in, felt that we had a chance to do that, and just felt like we've been playing well. I think they saw us, play very well in the tournament, and saw us play very well at Florida State the week before. And I think those 2 things helped us as well.
Well, if you have pitching, you can do a lot of damage in a tournament. You know that. I mean, in its simplest form, you can get to Omaha with just 5 wins. 3 wins in your regional, 2 wins in your super regional, bang. And you're in Omaha. With a couple of starters you have going so well for you right now, does that elevate your excitement and your feeling about what you guys can do?
Well, obviously, when you have Crownover and Irwin pitching like they're pitching, and Jake Long's been pitching pretty good too, if we can get those guys to give us really good outings, but we still have to hit against a very good pitcher on the other side. Every team's got a couple of really good pitchers, starters, 2 or 3 really good starters. And we've been facing that all year long, so there has not been any break in the pitching that we've seen. So everybody's got good pitching, and they just got to make defensive plays and play solid that way and get some big hits with men on base. And I think if we can do those things, and Crowney and Zach can pitch like that, and Jake can come up with a big opportunity, a big start for us. If he gets the opportunity, then I think we've got as good a chance as anybody. Once you start the NCAA tournament, it doesn't matter if you're, 46-10 or whatever. Everybody's on the same playing field, and everybody has the same opportunity, and that's the great thing about the tournament and getting your foot in the door and getting that opportunity is everybody's on the same level. Once this tournament starts on Friday, it'll be the same for everybody.
Absolutely. Now, I'm sure Crownover and Irwin haven't forgotten what happened to them against Oregon last year in Nashville, and I'm sure they want to get out on the mound and kind of show what they can do on the national stage. Have you talked with them about that particular experience and getting a chance this time around to sort of flush that?
No. No, that's not something we're talking about. We're just accenting on how they're pitching now, the positive, and they've forgotten about that. They're 56 games past that, or 60 games almost past that. So we're in a different place, and these guys are got a year more experience under their belt. So hopefully we'll go out there and play well in a really kind of a storied environment at Cal State Fullerton against some really good programs. Cal State Fullerton's been good for a long period of time, and of course Arizona State's got a great story behind them, and it's a great history and tradition. So that's a great opportunity for us. And then Pepperdine's been playing well and had a great year last year, and they're coming off another good year. So we're in a conference championship. So we've every time you get to a regional, you're playing somebody who's hot or somebody who's playing well or somebody who's got some confidence. So we just got to go out there, figure out how to get there first. We're working on travel arrangements, so hopefully we'll get out there. And by sometime Wednesday, then practice on Thursday, and have some good opportunities or have some good balance with us on Friday, Saturday, and hopefully play on the Sunday.
Coach, it's been an up and down season for you. I know that there's been pressures there. You tried to ease it away from your players, but tell me this: you've shown you're playing so great in Tallahassee, pretty much dominating Florida State on their home field. Is this a healthy change for your ball club to just flush the regular season, get into postseason, and do it out in California? Is that something you're looking forward to, getting them away from the region?
It doesn't really matter where we play. I think it's, we played pretty well on the road. We played pretty well in different environments. So I don't think anything's going to be any new to us or shake us up at all. We've played pretty well in tough situations. So, obviously we like playing at home. Obviously we like playing in the region, but at the same time, we're very excited about a different venue and going out to California and giving that a shot. And hopefully the players can just, focus in on playing baseball and everybody's hanging in here together and working hard at it together, and we're all loyal to each other, and hopefully we go out there with a really good vibe and play well. And they're very excited about getting in the tournament and getting an opportunity to play again. And so I look for us to play well, and I look for us to play relaxed and have a good time with it.
No doubt you start Crown over the first game against Arizona State?
Yes, he'll pitch on Friday. Mm-hmm.
All right, looking at their numbers, not a lot of power, not a great percentage in terms of stealing bases. Some guys with some high numbers, 345, 328. About their lineup, what have you noticed that you had to be concerned about?
Good offensive team, not necessarily great power or a great run offensive team. And, they've had, Tracy brought with him probably the same kind of philosophy. They had some really good hitters at Indiana when he left there. And so I'm sure they're getting into his type of program at Arizona State. And we look for them to be a good offensive team. And they've got a couple left-handed pitchers that we'll have to solve. And, we faced a lot of lefties, a lot of righties, of course, good righties and good lefties all season long in our conference. So I don't think it'll be anything we haven't seen. These guys have been successful just like our guys have, and they're probably thinking the same thing, that they've seen guys like Crown over and they've seen guys like Irwin all year. And, it's just a matter of who goes out there and pitches well, who goes out defense and gets the big hits.
Which of the left-handers do you think, to start on Friday?
Well, we haven't even started looking at it, but I think, they got two guys, and, I don't know which one we'll see. They haven't named a starter yet. So once they do, then we'll just start getting our scouting reports together and any video that we have and prepare for them. But it'll be one of those two guys, I'm sure.
All right, talking with Clemson baseball coach Jack Leggett. Coach, if we can, I want to hold you over for just a couple of more minutes to finish up with you before you start packing up and heading towards the West Coast here in a couple of days. Clemson coach Jack Leggett has the Tigers headed to the NCAA baseball tournament for the 7th consecutive year, and we'll be back with him in just a moment. Okay, we're back on Sports Talk. It is college baseball mayhem here on Memorial Day, the day that the tournament field was announced. Clemson Tigers in that group once again. Coastal Carolina, the College of Charleston, the three teams from South Carolina moving forward in the field of 64, the three that have a chance to win a national championship. Coach Jack Leggett is with us. About your team all season long, I think you love the grit and determination, never say die spirit of this particular group. Do you have enough to get to Omaha?
I think so, but we got to play well. Any team that goes to Omaha, Phil, has to hit it just right with their pitching, their defense, and their hitting, and get timely hits and make big plays and all that kind of thing. And so it's I think we've proven all year long that we have as good a team as anybody else when we put it all together and when we're consistent. And I think everybody else could tell you the same thing. Anybody else probably, in this tournament could tell you that they've shown flashes during the course of the year that they feel like they can beat anybody. And it's a matter of playing really well. Anytime you hit it right and head to Omaha, you got to win 2 tournaments in a row to get there. Then you got to win a long tournament once you're there. It takes some outstanding pitching. It takes some big plays. It takes some big hits at key moments. It takes everybody stepping up and playing really well. And so I would, I go into every tournament thinking you're going to win. So that's my mindset, and that's my players' mindset.
Any injuries of concern to you?
I think we're in good shape. We're in pretty good shape. We just obviously still don't have Drew Moyer back. Who was our closer earlier, and Patrick Andrews hadn't come back, and so Stephen Duggar's just got a little bit of a behind his hamstring type thing right now, but he'll be fine. Everybody else, Tyler Krieger is just, grins and bears it all weekend long, gets himself through the weekend with his shoulder. So hopefully everybody's been playing a little bit dinged up, and that's just the nature of the game. That's just the nature of the way this thing works, But I think everybody will be 100% by the weekend, and everybody will be ready to play.
All right. Everybody that follows your program knows your contractual situation with 1 year to go, and Dan Radakovich said recently in the Charleston paper that he would deal with this very quickly after the season. And you're back in NCAA tournament play once again. Have you and Dan had any conversations about your future and his future plans for you?
I haven't had any conversations about that. We're just trying to play our best baseball and get our team to play well. I'm concentrating on my guys, and that's the most important thing right now. They're a very loyal group, and they're very, very much into, having this opportunity to play, and our coach is the same way. So we're just all in this thing together. We're just working hard at it and trying to go do what we can do. And we've been in the NCAA tournament for 20, I guess it's my 28th time right now, I guess, with my time at Western Carolina. So we know what's expected. We know what we have to do, and we've been there every year except for one since I've been here. And it's one of those things where we just, the most important thing right now is to focus on us playing well, having a good time with this thing, being excited about the opportunity we have, and that's really where my focus is right now, and that's where theirs is.
I understand, but do you expect a contract extension as a result of what you have accomplished this year?
I would hope we could, vote of confidence. We've got a lot of good things going in this program, Phil, and I believe strongly in, our baseball program and the tradition that it has, and the recruits we got coming in, and the kids that we put through the program, and the tradition that we have, and all those types of things, how we handle our players, and the university itself. So I that's something that's somebody else's decision, and I'm excited about what we got going here with our team right now, and to be honest with you, that's all I'm really thinking about right now.
Sure, I understand that. Best of luck to you going out west to Fullerton, and we will be hearing more from you and the Tigers once you get out there. And thank you so much for your time tonight.
All right, sounds good, Phil. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. All right, Jack Leggett, Clemson baseball coach, heading to Cal State Fullerton. Titans out there, they are a phenomenal program on the West Coast. Have been for a long, long time. Clemson, Arizona State, they have some history in NCAA tournament play. Clemson beat Arizona State in 2010 in their first game of the College World Series in Omaha. I think it was 2009 that Clemson went to a regional out in Tempe and lost to Arizona State. Might have been a super regional. Regional or super regional. I think it might have been a super regional. Lost. Was that 2009? They have played out in Tempe in a regional or super regional situation before. So they have a little bit of history against one another in college baseball. So good matchup for the Tigers. If it is the left-hander that, Jack said a couple of left-handers that they haven't announced it yet, but their top guy is a left-hander, Ryan Kellogg. He's 6'5", 225. He's a junior from Canada, and he's a hard thrower. Got some big strikeout numbers and a good overall record so far this season. My guess is that is who the Tigers will see. Back in a moment. Was that 2009? They have played out in Tempe in a regional or super.
And that's the most important thing right now. They're long distance to show through the weekend with his shoulder, so hopefully the game better be 100%.
Situation with 1 year to go, and Dan Radakovich said recently in the Charleston paper that he would deal with this very quickly after the season, and you're back in NCAA tournament play once again. Have you and Dan had any conversations about your future and his future plans for you?
I haven't had any conversations about that. We're just trying to, play our best baseball and get our team to play well and concentrate on my guys, and that's the most important thing right now. They're a very loyal group, and they're very, very much in, and we haven't just this thing.
I understand, but do you expect a contract extension as a result of what you have accomplished this year?
I would hope we could, vote of confidence. We've got a lot of good things going in this program, Phil.
All right, thanks again to Jack Leggett, the first of the coaching trifecta here on College Baseball Mayhem on Sports Talk. We'll hear coming up from Monty Lee and also from Coach Gilmore from Coastal Carolina in our next hour. Also, Mike Murray is going to be with us as well. Get a little Braves report. Braves are heading out west, take on the Dodgers. To recruiting, we jump now here on this Memorial Day night. Defensive back Marlon Character from Atlanta, top three of USC, Ohio State, Virginia Tech, no favorite. Been considering Georgia as well, but right now the other three are out in front. Others are recruiting him, he said, like Miami, Georgia, Georgia Tech, and Pitt, but he's just going to do what's best for him. He likes those three schools, likes the recruiters, in particular from USC. He likes Lorenzo Ward, and he's also met with Steve Spurrier. And he feels like coaches from those three schools are recruiting him the hardest and showing him the most recruiting love. And he's going to look for a school that fits him in more ways than just football. He's a kid coming off a year in which he played just 4 games because of a severe hip pointer. Still had a couple of picks and around 20 tackles. Look for him to visit South Carolina probably in June. He visited for the Georgia game last season. Defensive end Jordan Woods from Orlando, no favorites among schools recruiting him at this point, but Steve Spurrier is maybe his favorite coach. He calls him the best coach in college football and talked about how Spurrier changed the whole program around, made USC SEC contenders, and he really respects it. USC an early offer for Woods, and his relationship with the Gamecocks remains sound. Steve Spurrier Jr. was down to check on him this spring, as were recruiters from several others. His offer list includes Florida, Florida State, Georgia, Miami, Michigan, South Florida, Central Florida, Florida International, Florida Atlantic, NC State, Duke, and North Carolina. He has not shortened his list, but he does prefer the schools from the ACC and SEC area. Offensive lineman Joshua Ball, Fredericksburg, Virginia, cut his list to 15. USC's Duke, along with Auburn, Duke, Florida State, Maryland, Miami, Ole Miss, NC State, Penn State, Tennessee, Virginia, Virginia Tech, West Virginia, Wisconsin. He was at USC for the spring game. Receiver Divine Diablo from Winston said over the weekend he has a top 5 of USC, North Carolina, NC State, Georgia, Virginia Tech. USC and Clemson target offensive lineman John Simpson of Fort Dorchester will camp at Alabama. Clemson target defensive end Xavier Kelly of Wichita visited Georgia Saturday, and he's going to go to Alabama Friday. And in basketball, Seventh Woods was in a tournament up in Ardsley, New York over the weekend. He told basketball recruiting reporter Adam Zagoria, USC, North Carolina, and Florida recruiting him the hardest at this point. Florida's new coach, Mike White, reached out to him a couple of weeks ago. Woods says he's open on his decision, would wait until after his AAU season before thinking more about his college plans. And perhaps he's waiting to see what the NCAA does with North Carolina, too. All right, there you go, recruiting. Top of the hour break, a busy second hour to come. Don't go away.
Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
Okay, we're back. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network here on Memorial Night 2015. Of course, our thanks to all the servicemen and women for their great work for our great country over the years. And we, of course, recall all of them on this particular day. We hope you had a great day. You've enjoyed the day. And if your baseball team is headed to postseason play, you got something to look forward to. If it's not, well, you can complain and moan about it and hope that things get better next year. By the way, over the weekend, it was reported in several places that Logan Koch and Jordan Gore are leaving the USC baseball team, two guys who were major starters for much of the year before, I guess, just becoming bit players down the stretch. And, you hate to see players who are contributors in some form or fashion leave, but if that's a sign that they've got better players ahead of them, though I thought Gore was a guy, and I think where he was hurt pro is, they had him playing shortstop early on. They had him playing in the outfield. They never really settled on a position for him, and he made a ton of errors there during one stretch of the season. Mm-hmm. Not sure he ever got over that, never did hit for a high average. And Koch was he was really overmatched in the SEC at that's recruiting. These are a couple of guys that South Carolina's coaching staff went out and recruited, and that's a failure both ways. It's a failure on the coaches' end. It's a failure on the players' end when a transfer of this kind takes place.
Well, then again, also, sometimes guys, if they don't have immediate success, they get down on themselves and really dig themselves a hole. And I think probably for a lot of players in South Carolina, after that sweep of Kentucky and they had some adversity, I think they really struggled to climb out of the abyss, and it mentally affected them the entire rest of the season.
Well, they went out to Missouri and got beat by a Missouri team that was playing good baseball at that point. Remember Missouri, first half of the season, they were as good as anybody, climbing in the national polls. They looked like a shoe-in.
Their pitching was phenomenal early.
And now they don't make the tournament.
Right.
Which is, you go back and you look at their record on the season, and I'd have to go back historically and look. I mean, they won 15 SEC games. Now their overall record in the regular season was only 29-26. Then they won a game in the SEC tournament because they beat South Carolina. They won 16 SEC games. Historically speaking, 14 and above SEC wins get you in the NCAA tournament. But, I guess the committee looked at the overall record.
Probably too many midweek losses.
I guess, if you're going to have 26 losses like they had, they're going to have some midweek losses. All right, Monty Lee, College of Charleston, next up here on Baseball Mayhem. Update the baseball scoreboard from the major leagues today. A lot of action on this Memorial Day. Texas continuing to pound the baseball 10-8 over Cleveland. They're in the 8th. Arizona and St. Louis 2-2 in the 9th. Miami leads Pittsburgh 1-0 in the 1st. And final scores: Oakland beat Detroit 4-0. Washington over the Cubs 2-1. San Francisco over Milwaukee 8-4. Minnesota beat the Red Sox 7-2. Baltimore 4-3 over Houston. Mets beat Philadelphia 6-3. Colorado 5-4 over Cincinnati. And the Yankees had a nice day. 14-1 over Kansas City, including a 2-run homer from former College of Charleston baseball star Brett Gardner, and they said he would never hit the baseball as we welcome in Cougars coach Monty Lee. You weren't there, though, when they told him he'd never hit.
Phil, because I definitely wouldn't have told Brett Gardner that he would never hit.
Well, he's proven everybody wrong in a big way, isn't he?
He certainly has. He's such a great guy. He comes and speaks to our team every year before he heads out to spring training, and you know his story is really amazing. He was a true walk-on. Came to the College of Charleston as a walk-on and made the ball club. Actually redshirted a year and wound up being an All-American, a third-round draft pick, and obviously our most recognizable former Cougar great. So we're very proud of Brett and all of his accomplishments and what he continues to accomplish.
And a very wealthy former Cougar, too.
Yeah, I think he just signed he's in year one of a 4-year, $52 million contract. So that is correct. He's making a nice chunk of change and especially playing in the Bronx Zoo up there in New York.
That's fantastic. Congratulations to you and your club, a number 2 seed going to the regional. Now, we were hoping yesterday to hear news that you would be hosting. What do you think happened there? Was it the loss in the tournament or issues over Patriots Point that cost you the regional?
Honestly, from what I've been getting back, the information that I've been getting, it really didn't have anything to do with the facility. Mm-hmm. We actually asked those questions before we ever even submitted the bid if the selection committee felt like Patriots Point was a doable host site, and they absolutely said that it was. That it would not have mattered had we put in a bid for Joe Riley, that Patriots Point was definitely suitable to host. So it didn't have anything to do with the bid on Patriots Point. And to be honest with you, Phil, from what we were told, the committee just felt like UC Santa Barbara had a little better resume and felt like it fit a little bit more as a host site over in Lake Elsinore. I felt like we definitely had the credentials and the resume to host. But for some reason, I think it came down to, us, them, and maybe another school or two. I think Oregon State was in the mix. I think Radford was in the mix. And they decided to go with UC Santa Barbara. And, they definitely deserved it based on their resume to host. And we felt like we did too. But we're excited. I mean, we really are. We're excited about the opportunity to go to Florida State. To play at such a great venue and such a great baseball town. And what a great field. You got the Southern Conference champion in Mercer. You've got Auburn coming back into, I think, their first regional in a few years. And obviously you got Florida State, who's been one of the most storied programs in the country for a number of years. So we're excited about the opportunity to go there. I know our players are excited, our fans are excited, and we can't wait to get to Friday.
Are we looking at a classic pitching matchup against Auburn with Cole Lipscomb probably going for them and Clark going for you guys?
I tell you, we haven't announced it yet, but we feel like we're definitely going to go with Clark in game one. And probably the biggest reason that we're going to go with Clark is because of Lipscomb. When you look at that matchup, this is a guy that's, one of the better starting pitchers in the SEC all year. I think he was second team all conference, if I'm not mistaken. and Clark obviously is one of the best in the country. So, this could really be a pretty stiff pitching matchup, and it's going to come down to who executes better offensively, who plays better defensively, and who makes the fewest amount of mistakes. More than likely, because it looks like you got two really, really good pitchers going against each other.
What do you have to do better coming out of your tournament? Because you were at home, things were looking great for you. You end up losing to Wilmington, which, of course, is a very good team and is going on in the tournament itself. But, from those losses, what'd you learn that you've got to do better if you're going to advance through this?
I think the biggest thing for us is just, we lost 2 one-run games to Wilmington. One was an extra inning. And it boiled down to a play or two here or there, not driving a run in here or there. And as you know, Phil, when you get into postseason baseball, you're facing quality pitching staff and quality defenses. You're facing pitching staffs that are going to throw strikes, so they're not going to walk guys. They're not going to make many errors and really give you opportunities to open a game up. It just doesn't happen that much in the postseason. So the big thing for us is, one thing we've done all year is throw strikes. Our pitching staff throws strikes. We've got to play good defense. And when we get an opportunity to drive a runner in from third base with less than 2 outs, we got to get it done. When we bunt, we got to get the bunts down. When we move runners over, we got to move runners over. We got to find ways to score first. I think that's a big part of it. Putting pressure on the other dugout. In the postseason, the teams that score first, tend to win because the other team feels that pressure. The sense of urgency is a little bit greater in the postseason. So I think you just got to do the little things a little bit more. You're not going to run into teams that walk you and make errors, weak bullpens. You're not going to run into that as much in the postseason. So you got to be firing on all cylinders, and I think that's the key for us. We got to pitch and play defense, and we got to have timely hitting and execute offensively if we want to advance past game 1 in the winner's bracket and win a regional.
Well, you're known for your power and you're known for your big-time run production, but considering the pitcher you'll be facing, who had the second or third lowest ERA in the SEC this season, and the pitcher that you plan to throw, who's been lights out, I mean, runs may come at a premium. Do you, as a coach, kind of change your managerial style and play for the one run here, the one run there, knowing that they may be hard to come by?
I think you absolutely do. We sometimes get accused of being kind of a big run, a big inning type team, sit back and wait for a home run. And to be honest with you, I've always just tried to coach to my personnel, coach to your personnel and coach to the game situation. If you're facing a really good arm, and even if you got a great offense, you might not be able to score runs, so you're going to have to bunt when you get runners at first with no outs, runners at first and second with no outs. You may run a little bit more. You may hit and run a little bit more. You may play a little more small ball or really just try to execute your offensive game plan a little bit more than just sit back and let them hit. I think you have to adjust based on what you're seeing. You're going to have to be patient, understand that he may dominate you in some innings. You may strike out some guys, and you just gotta you gotta understand when you get opportunities, you better make them count because they may not come. They may be few and far between. So you absolutely have to change your game plan a little bit, and you have to coach to your strengths, also coach to the opponents you're facing. And we know that Lipscomb's going to be tough, and we know Auburn is going to be tough. Auburn's going to push and drag and hit and run and manufacture to run. We better be very fundamental if we plan on winning game 1.
All right, Coach. That should be a great matchup. What a year Taylor Clark has had to this point. I mean, he's been almost unhittable. And facing a good hitting SEC team with their own outstanding pitcher, that'll be an outstanding first game in that regional. Thank you, Monty Lee. We appreciate it very much. We'll be right back. All right, thanks again to Monty Lee for joining us here on College Baseball Mayhem on Sports Talk. Coming up, we will complete the trifecta with Gary Gilmore from Coastal Carolina, who, like Charleston, they came extremely close to hosting a regional. Now, they've hosted regionals before. Charleston would have been there first, so that would have been special for them, but not to be. They'll go on the road and see if they can win a regional and get to a super regional next week. The winner of the Florida State super regional, the one with Charleston in it, will get the winner of the Florida super regional. You know, they're all hoping in the NCAA that it'll be a Florida State-Florida matchup. That will mean huge dollars, and Florida would be the host because Florida is the national seed, number 4. So Florida would host the super regional. Now, you know, here's what could happen. If Charleston beats Florida State, and let's say South Florida beats Florida, then you could look at a super regional in Charleston. And I would go for that. That's kind of what they're hoping for. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure, you know, Clemson, for example, right now, if they win their regional, they're slated to play the winner from the Louisville regional. But let's just say Louisville, of course, Louisville's awfully good at home. Who could beat them in their region? Bradley, Michigan, Moorhead, probably nobody. No, so Louisville's probably going to host a super regional, and Clemson would have to go face their ACC opponent, the team that they beat in the ACC tournament, if they can get through their regional out in California. The USC women's golf team, their efforts at the championship down in Florida came to an end today. They were starting today with a chance of making the cut. It was looking pretty good, as if they were going to make the cut, but it didn't happen. They ended 2 strokes outside of the top 15. So they missed the cut at the end of the 3rd round at the Concession Golf Club in Florida. They entered today in 13th place, finished as many as 5 holes after returning to the course at 7:30 this morning, fell just short after going 9 over in the final holes, a 3-round total of 68 over par to finish 17th overall. So good try for the USC women's golf team, but no cigar for them. The men, Clemson and USC men, they begin the NCAA men's golf championship later on this week, also down in Florida. This other note for you, South Carolina State assistant basketball coach Travis Garrett has been named the new head coach at South Georgia Technical College, which is where, Pro?
I have no earthly idea. Maybe somewhere in South Georgia, Valdosta, maybe.
Americus.
A
home of? Who came from Americus? Oh, come on.
No, I don't.
Come on, I'm going to give you 10 more seconds.
No, I'm not. My
One of the greatest Gamecocks of all time.
Who was that?
Dan Reeves.
Oh, yeah, it is, right. In fact, Chan Gailey's from there too, isn't he?
I think he might be.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, Gary Gilmore is not from there. He will join us coming up. Okay, we're back on Sports Talk on this Monday night. College baseball mayhem here on Sports Talk all week long as we head into the regionals, efforting to hook up with Coach Gary Gilmore from Coastal Carolina. Coach, if you're listening, give us a call. We'll still try to reach you in the next couple of minutes. Meantime, on to a couple of other things while we wait for Coach Gilmore, and hopefully he will hook up with us here shortly. A couple of other things I wanted to mention. Division II baseball All-American team by the American Baseball Coaches Association announced today. And we have 2 players from South Carolina on the team. On the second team, Albert Bauer, senior first baseman from Newberry College. And on the third team, senior shortstop Brandon Overstreet from Erskine. Congratulations to those fine fellows. The Limestone lacrosse team, congratulations to them. They win the Division II National Championship over the weekend. Number 1 ranked team had to rally to defeat Lemoyne, and they did so. They won 9-6 to capture a second consecutive Division II National Championship, played at Lincoln Financial Field, home of the Eagles, yesterday afternoon. And Limestone finishes the year at 20-1. The Division I championship was just played today, and Denver defeated Maryland, the Division I lacrosse national championship. The new baseball polls for the week are out. Baseball America has LSU at number 1, followed by UCLA, Florida, Illinois, and Vanderbilt. Then it's Missouri State, TCU, Texas A&M, Louisville, and Florida State at number 10. College of Charleston remains the same from last week at number 18. Collegiate baseball, LSU is 1, followed by UCLA, Illinois, TCU, and Louisville. And as far as the locals, College of Charleston drops from 22 to 25. Clemson remains the same at number 28. The coaches poll, LSU number 1, followed by UCLA, Florida, TCU, Illinois. Charleston is number 16 this week. And the Baseball Writers Association, it's LSU number 1. Everybody thinks LSU is the number 1 team in the country, except the NCAA Baseball Tournament Selection Committee. UCLA lost 2 of 3 over the weekend and still got named the 1 seed. But, of course, LSU, they lost in the semifinals of the SEC tournament on Saturday. Well, by the way, I do think they finished that SEC championship game finally last night, didn't they?
I would hope so.
It was 9:30. I was thinking to myself, my God, those poor people. Imagine if you're there covering one of those teams, been there all week long from at least Wednesday on, because neither team had to play on Tuesday. So you've been there since Wednesday on, and now it's Sunday, and the scheduled first pitch in Hoover was 3:30 local time. So you're probably at the ballpark noon, 11 o'clock. And here it is 9:30 or 8:30 local time, and it's 6th inning. You know, it's still going on. And Florida went on to win the SEC championship. A long, long day at the ballpark.
Here's another question I have for you, because we've heard this with your treks out to Omaha, that it had been for years that you heard little rumblings from the left coast. You know, sometimes y'all forget about us. You know, y'all got all those regions down there in ACC and SEC country. How about, you think all that whining is one of the reasons why they all these things out west?
Keep in mind this year, no host in Georgia, no host in South Carolina, no host in North Carolina, no host in Virginia. You know, when you think about it, Virginia had an unexpected down year. South Carolina had an didn't make the tournament. Clemson not worthy of a region host. I mean, the 2 teams in the Carolinas most worthy of hosting a regional were Charleston and Coastal, based on their RPI and their ranking.
Should have gotten a regional, even though they lost it.
They took advantage of this opportunity to put some regionals other places. I mean, they loaded up in the state of Texas,
right,
in the state of Florida,
state of California,
and they threw a little bit. You got one in Louisville, you got one in Champaign, Illinois. got one out there. So anyway, we'll see how it works out. Want to give you the where was I? I was doing the baseball writers, LSU, UCLA, Florida, Illinois, TCU, and College of Charleston, number 15, Coastal Carolina, number 25 by the baseball writers. And let's see, what else do I want to mention to you? Did that. Oh, yes. Racing over the weekend. Well, I watched a lot.
Okay.
Indy 500 was fantastic. I mean, I know we're NASCAR country, but once a year to sit down and watch Indy cars, it's after watching Indy cars and then watching the 600, the stock cars look like they're moving in slow motion. Those Indy cars, 230, 235, and but they had a great finish. A lot of lead changes over the last 10, 15 laps, and came right down to the wire. And great race. Gosh, I hope the milk that they drink after racing 500 miles is extremely cold. I mean, can you imagine after sitting in a race car, you're dying of thirst. You're probably just, you got to, you want some water, you want some Gatorade, and you have to drink milk. I mean, that's the tradition. The first thing is what? Cambodian what? Oh, come on, State Man. You're telling me things and I'm believing you here.
I'm just joking. I said Cambodian goat milk.
Here's the question.
It's got to be cold and it's got to be sweet.
I'm with you.
And don't give me any of that. What's that stuff you get at the grocery store? There's different, levels of milk.
Oh, you
2%.
mean,
Don't give me that 2%.
You want whole milk, huh?
You got to be whole milk, exactly. Give me all the fat content you got.
There's the question, though, that I suppose.
What if you're dehydrated, though? You're dehydrated. Milk is not something you want when you're dehydrated.
Any kind of fluid is good, but water is best. But here's the question. Suppose the winner is lactose intolerant.
Well, that's true. So now Juan Pablo didn't do this because he's won it before. I don't know. A lot of times they'll douse themselves in the milk. Now imagine what that smells like in about 10 or 15 minutes.
Exactly.
Great race. And then last night in Charlotte, very good race as well. Carl Edwards. What a couple of weeks, or what a 8 days for Joe Gibbs Racing. Man, they win the All-Star race, they win the pole, then they win the race. That team did 3 different drivers doing 3 different things, and Carl Edwards he nailed the backflip after winning that race. I mean, he had a perfect backflip off his car, went into the stands. He went and got the checkered flag, and then he went into the stands to get pats on the back and high five with some race fans. Great to see that. Very popular victory. First 600 win for Carl Edwards, and his first win for Joe Gibbs Racing gets him in the chase. And so big night in Charlotte, nice clean race. And they had a few incidents, but for a 600-mile race, it was pretty. It wasn't caution free, but they had a low number of yellow flags in that race. So enjoyed watching the races yesterday as well. All right, so Coach Gilmore, we have struck out on so far, huh? Yeah, we'll try him again here after the next break one more time. If we don't hit him, we'll get him tomorrow night for sure as we look ahead to the baseball regionals coming up this week. Disappointing that we don't have one in South Carolina. You get spoiled.
Mm-hmm.
You do get spoiled between what the Gamecocks and Tigers have done. South Carolina has hosted a regional every year since 2010. It's going to be kind of eerie on Friday. You ride by, go down, you ought to do that. You ought to get in your car, ride down Tanner, make a left onto Tanner Way, and ride by the stadium and feel the eerie silence. Yes, feel the eerie silence of no home regional. Yeah, Clemson hasn't had a home regional in a few years, going on 2 or 3 years now. But at least they're in the tournament and they have a chance to advance. And if things maybe break their way, who knows? They might get a super regional at Doug Kingsmore. But they got to take care of their business out in California first.
Well, that's the drama of college sports, because the anticipation next year for both programs is going to be immense. Have they covered up their flaws? Did they bring enough makeup with them? It'd be interesting. I always think the bounce back is incredible.
I got a little different take on what you're saying and about South Carolina in particular. We'll talk about it in a moment. All right, looks like we have struck out with Coach Gilmore. We messed up our triple play here on College Baseball
We still
Mayhem.
got time to make it up.
We'll get him tomorrow night. Of course, he might be thinking about the Sports Talk jinx because, he was with us last week, and then they ended up losing their tournament in the championship game to Radford after having a 4-1 lead and a chance, what I'm told, had they won, a very good chance to host. Didn't happen. Hopefully we haven't scared him away. We'll try and get him tomorrow night here on the program. If you want to jump on board, we've got a few minutes here to take some calls. 800-956-7266 is our phone. Email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Talkback@sportstalksc.com. And on Twitter handle is @sportstalksc. A lot of activity. K-Mac had them stirred up over the weekend. People want to know because we share Twitter responsibilities under the one name of Sports Talk SC, which is how we like it. And when there are interactions taking place that are kind of heated and snarky and mean and malicious, that's not me. I only use Twitter to put out information, recruiting information or news notes. You won't see me get involved in a conversation. I will answer a question if we have somebody tweeting us asking a question. If I have the answer, I'll answer it. But, not going to get into any political or social discussions with people on Twitter. That's best done face to face, I think, if you want to have a serious conversation, because a lot gets lost in the typing.
Exactly. And then I think some people use Twitter not to impart information, but to fire off a zinger because they think that's what they're supposed to do.
Hit and run.
Mm-hmm.
It's a verbal hit and run. So anyway, if you haven't signed up to follow us on Twitter, I advise that you do. We thank the nearly 11,000 followers that we do have on Twitter, and you have the opportunity to do the same. There is room. There is no limit, I don't think. We're trying to catch up with Madonna and a couple of the other major Twitter accounts around the world. The Pope. Well, only the Pope has following him.
I don't have a Twitter.
Oh, not our Pope. I'm talking about the Pope. Though I'm sure if our Pope here at Sports Talk started his own Twitter account, you'd be amazed how many people would start to follow you. Because you know how many people just are envious of you and the role that you play and the success of Sports Talk.
And the Pope 1000, of course.
Yes. Pope 1000. When is that coming out?
3 weeks.
3 weeks. This is the football version of the Pope 1000?
Correct, yeah. You don't need rivals.
And you only subscribe by mental telepathy.
Yeah. This is the country's most informed, most accurate ranking.
Without a doubt, yes, sir. That's correct.
Yeah. You're doing high school kids?
A little bit of everything, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Great. I look forward to that.
But we were talking about this off the air, trying to warn people, be careful about treating these college football magazines that seem to be coming out earlier every year as gospel. Because it's kind of weird this year. I think they still, believe it or not, the Sporting News, that is, picks Clemson number 2. I thought they would be number 1 in the division, and they still have Florida State number 1. And of course, this probably went to print, and it went to print before they got their latest acquisition from Notre Dame.
No, I think you were right the first time. Accusation.
No, it was an acquisition.
Fraudulent slip there. I wanted to say this, going back to what we were talking about, hitting the break, and I said I'd give you a different take. Think about this. When the 2015-16 academic year rolls around here in a couple of months at South Carolina, we're talking about, for the first time in a long, long time, preseason expectations, both locally and nationally, of their 3 major male teams, football, basketball, and baseball, should all be pretty low.
Not basketball, I don't think.
It'll be low.
I think it's
we're talking in terms of the national perception.
The national perception.
Well, but it should be
low.
That should also carry over locally. So what I'm saying here is, and here's a chance for South Carolina in those 3 sports to kind of hide in the weeds and kind of reinvent yourself, starting with the football season. And I think football I think football is just going to narrow it down in simplest form. I think it's going to hinge on who does what at quarterback. Connor Mitch, you would hope that he's going to be the guy because he's the guy coming out of spring. If he can play well, it will give them a chance because, I mean, I think their defense is going to be the
first big hit on defense. The fans will be turned on.
Of course, they're going to be facing a pretty good offensive threat in North Carolina with a quarterback who finished up the second half of last year pretty strong and can do some things, and a pretty good group of running backs and receivers there at North Carolina.
But that defense.
Pretty bad defense. Yeah, I mean, when we go to SEC Media Days in, is that tomorrow? It seems like it. No, it's about 6 weeks away, SEC Media Days. I mean, South Carolina's going to be picked way down in its division. And no more of this finishing first or second ahead of Georgia and Florida. They'll be picked behind Georgia. They'll be picked behind Florida. They'll be picked behind Missouri. They'll be picked, fourth or fifth. In their division.
Only ahead of Kentucky and Vandy, probably.
Yeah. So low expectations, hide in the woods, get your act together, come out and surprise. Basketball, shoot, they'll still be picked. Despite a semi-decent finish, they didn't make a tournament. They'll still be picked probably no better than 9th or 10th in the preseason in the SEC when you think about it. And then baseball. You come next year to baseball. And, again, in their division, they'll be behind Florida. They'll be behind Vanderbilt. They'll be behind Texas A&M. So, wait a minute.
No,
I mean Missouri. I'm sorry.
Missouri. Now, some is picking Texas A&M already in football to drop all the way to the basement of the West, which I can't see, but that's what because you know who the darling is now? The darling now is Arkansas. There's the new darling.
In what sport?
In football. There's the new darling.
That's the chic pick to rise up in the West.
That vaunted running game with some additions to a salty defense.
He's done. He took his lumps in year one, and he has stuck to his guns and his style of football. And yeah, I mean they can just grind you into the dirt. Defense is improving. Their quarterback is not flashy, but he's a veteran. He's one of the few returning starting quarterbacks in the league. That means something to you. So yeah, maybe so. I mean, you still have to say, are they better? I mean, the West is Ole Miss with Chad Kelly at quarterback. The kind of things that they can do, the players that they have recruited.
Me. That looks like schizophrenia.
I don't know, man. He's a talent. Say what you want. He is a talent. And then Prescott's back at quarterback at Mississippi State, and they feel the West is crazy strong.
Yeah,
top to bottom, it is crazy strong.
But LSU has had its struggles.
Yeah, but
and it'll be interesting to see how they
probably have the best running back in the league, or one of them.
There's a problem.
and Chubb.
But they've forgotten how to throw the forward pass. That's the problem. They've always had great receivers at LSU, and suddenly last year they just didn't have a good passing game, and that hurt them.
Well, I mean, my premise of all this was for the three sports going into next school year, South Carolina will be will be
low
expectations and gives them a chance to sort of recoup and get back on top of things. So we'll see if indeed that is the case. All right. Oh, statement. I lost my music there. Okay. We got the music back. All right. That's going to do it. Have yourselves a great rest of your holiday, and we'll see you back here tomorrow night on Sports Talk.
Terminator Genesis.
I tried to turn the monitor down, put the music down.
Yes, you did.
And
Coach, good for tomorrow night.
Except 7:30, we got Doohickey 7:30. Chip.
You have to
We'll
move
do it
him.
at 7:10. I'll contact him.
Yeah, you have to move him.
Yeah, he said he's been talking to people all day and his phone died.
Oh.